Dealing girls is like dealing drugs. The difference is that a drug you can only sell once, but a girl you can sell 1,000 times. Runaway girls in America are such easy targets.
Our household staff loves us. We save them from the wretched conditions in their country, and at least here they have a roof over their heads and food in their bellies. Of course, we don't let them leave the building, but that is just for their own safety.
Sure, we outsource our labor during the harvest. I'm not sure how this company can make any money with the number of employees they bring in, but I'm not about to start asking questions. The crops won't pick themselves. Everybody does it, if they want to stay in business.
There's a lot of money to be made from military contracts, especially these days with conflict zones. They need tons of people to work on the military bases. Cooks, cleaners, construction workers, fast food clerks, electricians, and beauticians. Our recruiters hire them in poor countries where the salaries we offer for a month are 10 times what they would make in a year. And we don't do badly from them either.
Human trafficking can and does occur anywhere. Traffickers come from all walks of life and capitalize on the misfortunes of their victims. This is the face of modern-day slavery. Welcome to Human Trafficking Awareness Training. This training has been developed in response to the federal government's zero-tolerance policy on human trafficking. It's divided into 3 topics, including this introduction. You will learn how to define human trafficking, differentiate between human trafficking and human smuggling, recognize populations vulnerable to human trafficking, and recognize indicators of human trafficking. The summary and conclusion topic will provide a review of key points. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with the navigation options and features. To control the narration volume, you should select the sound feature through the control panel on your computer or the speaker icon on your taskbar. Simply slide the indicator up or down to increase or decrease the volume. Please note that menu on the navigation bar provides a listing of the topics in the training. Topics are designed to be taken in a linear order. Once you complete a topic, you will be able to jump back to it at any time. You will not be able to jump ahead. Additionally, through Resources on the navigation bar, you are provided links to websites, publications, and a printable version of the training. These links open in a separate browser window. Documents can be downloaded for future reference or printed immediately. Simply select the title from the resources list and then select the File and Save As or Print commands from the menu bar in the browser window. Anywhere between 12 to 27 million people are held in slavery around the world today. Men, women, and children. Documented and undocumented. Foreign nationals and citizens. For sex and for labor. All around the world and in the United States. You may think slavery is only in history books, but it's happening today for labor and commercial sex. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is defined as the act of recruiting, harboring, transporting, providing, or obtaining a person for labor services or commercial sex acts through force, fraud, or coercion, for the purpose of exploitation, involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery. It includes any commercial sex involving a minor. Human trafficking is not a crime of movement, but rather the dehumanizing practice of holding another in compelled service using whatever means necessary, whether physical or psychological. People who are subjected to involuntary servitude are held against their will and forced to work, frequently under the threat of violence to themselves or their families. Victims of debt bondage are typically required to work for low wages to repay an excessive or unreasonable amount of money in exchange for a service, such as transportation or a recruiter fee for a job. The victims are then compelled to pay off their debts by becoming modern-day slaves. In the United States, trafficking occurs for commercial sexual exploitation in street prostitution, massage parlors, and brothels. Forced labor can also occur in domestic service, agricultural, manufacturing, and janitorial services, hospitality industries, construction, health, and elder care. Traffickers coerce, force, or deceive victims into performing commercial sex acts. Sex trafficking may include prostitution, pornography, live sex shows, and sex tourism. Victims can be undocumented workers, migrant and temporary workers on legitimate visas, or even U.S. citizens. Human trafficking can exist in any workplace. Human smuggling is different from human trafficking. Select the Trafficking versus Smuggling button to learn more about the differences between the two. What sets human smuggling apart from human trafficking is that the defining element of human smuggling is transportation, while the defining element of human trafficking is exploitation. In fact, a human trafficking victim would not need to travel anywhere to be trafficked, and people who are smuggled are not necessarily exploited and are acting out of their own free will. Human smuggling is the facilitation, transportation, attempted transportation, or illegal entry of a person across an international border. It occurs in violation of one or more countries' laws, either clandestinely, by avoiding checkpoints altogether, or through deception, such as the use of fraudulent documents. Smuggling usually ends when a border has been crossed and a smuggling fee has been paid. By contrast, human trafficking is non-consensual. The exploitation typically occurs indefinitely. Human trafficking is a worldwide epidemic, and that means it occurs within our borders as well. Human trafficking can occur anywhere, from the darkest corners of the globe to your own backyard. Traffickers prey on victims with little or no social safety net. They look for victims in vulnerable situations due to economic hardship, political instability, natural disasters, and other causes. Traffickers also exploit people who are vulnerable because of their illegal immigration status. There are a number of red flags or indicators which can help you identify human trafficking. Recognizing the signs is the first step in identifying victims. Each red flag focuses on the trafficker's methods of control and can be broken down into categories: personal documents, wages, safety, freedom, and working and living conditions. Think of these categories as pieces of a puzzle. Any method in any category can give a trafficker control. However, the methods can be interrelated, and combining them can lead to total control over the victim. Select each red flag category to learn more about the methods of controlling potential victims. When traffickers take victims' personal documents, such as identification papers and/or travel documents, this effectively restricts victims' freedom of movement and opportunity. Human traffickers will control victims by threatening potential victims or their families with harm. Potential victims may have bruises or other signs of physical abuse. Victims will also be threatened with deportation or arrest in order to control them. If you find that potential victims appear fearful, this could mean a red flag should be raised. The working and living conditions may present red flags. For example, you may note that potential victims in the workplace express that they aren't doing the job they expected. You may also notice the victims appear deprived of food, water, sleep, and/or medical care, as well as satisfactory living conditions. Red flags are clearly indicated when minors are engaged in commercial sex. Traffickers often control victims by prohibiting them from controlling their own money. Another method is not paying them what was promised. This makes it more difficult to pay off debts, which means traffickers are able to exercise more control over the victims. Traffickers will also withhold pay completely for a victim's work. Control over a victim's pay can sometimes be the result of the victim working to pay off a debt. When a potential victim defers to another person to speak for him or her, or appears to have been coached on what to say to authorities, it can be an indicator of human trafficking. Additionally, if a potential victim isn't allowed to socialize and communicate with family, friends, or at community events, this is also a red flag that the person is being controlled. Now check your understanding of human trafficking indicators. Now try this scenario. Now check your understanding of conditions that could make someone vulnerable to human trafficking. Now check your understanding of the differences between human trafficking and human smuggling. Combating trafficking is an important administration initiative with bipartisan support from Congress. Enacted in 2000, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, or TVPA, aimed to prevent trafficking in persons, protect trafficking victims, and ensure punishment of traffickers. The TVPA defined the federal government response to human trafficking, provided new immigration relief and benefits for eligible victims, and specified crimes under which traffickers could be prosecuted. TVPA reauthorizations, or TVPRA, have occurred several times since the passage of the original act in 2000. Identifying and reporting human trafficking is everyone's responsibility. If you suspect a case of human trafficking, you can call the ICE Homeland Security Investigations tip line at 1-866-DHS-2-ICE or 1-866-347-2423, or the National Human Trafficking Resource Center at 1-888-3737-888. If you are working at an embassy or consulate overseas, contact your regional security officer. This training provided an overview of what human trafficking is, whom it affects, and how to identify it. Resources on human trafficking are available from resources on the navigation bar. Select the red flags graphic to recall how traffickers control victims. Congratulations! You have completed human trafficking awareness training. You should now be able to define human trafficking and differentiate between human trafficking and human smuggling. You explored populations vulnerable to human trafficking and learned the indicators of human trafficking. This training is available in a printable version through resources on the navigation bar. You may also visit the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security websites for more information.